Hello everybody, it's Julia here from the Highly Sensitive Tarot Readings, and I'm back today to do another collective reading which I've been really enjoying recently. I hope everybody is well and doing okay. It's a very gloomy, miserable day here in the UK. I don't think we've seen the sun for a good couple of weeks now. It's not nice, is it? It kind of gets you down a bit in the end, I think, really, to not see the sunshine. But anyway, what I'm going to do today is just a short little reading. I obviously don't know how long it will take me to interpret the cards, but this is a short little reading, and I found this on Pinterest by somebody called Patricia Androssi, and it's called The Witch's Mirror. And it's what I show the world, what I hide, what I must face, and what I need. I think this is a really useful little tool for self-reflection, isn't it? Plus an oracle card. So I will credit Patricia in the description box, obviously, for this little reading. Now, while I've been sat sort of getting my head in the right space and meditating a little bit on the energy, I did pull an oracle card. This is from my Soul Mirrors oracle deck, and I'm also going to use the Circe Tarot today, which is a deck I've had for quite a while, but I've not read with as yet, and I'm going to use this deck in my practice in February, so I thought it would be nice to give it a little run out. So would you believe, as I was shuffling and I was thinking about these questions, what card popped out of the Soul Mirror deck? And it's not as if there's lots of other mirrors in this deck, because I'm pretty sure that there's not, even though it's called the Soul Mirror. I don't think there are any other images of mirrors in there. And what popped out? Reflection. Outward and inward reflection. So we have someone stood there holding a mirror. And I thought I would read, this was actually the card at the bottom of the deck as well, actually. It's called Awareness. But I thought it'd be nice just to read a little bit from the guidebook. I haven't looked at it just yet. I mean, we all know what self-reflection is, what it means to self-reflect, to go inwards and to examine, if you like, your place in something. You know, the outside world is a mirror of our own kind of mindset, isn't it? Our own inner world. So let's just see what this book says. So it says, take time to go inwards where your deepest truths and desires reside, to connect with the wisdom of your soul and the voice of your higher self. This is where you'll find answers to the questions that have been calling out to you, and where you'll discover the purpose of your journey. Reflecting is a powerful tool through which we can unlock our limitless potential. The outward world is a mirror of all that takes place in our inner world, which is what I just said, isn't it? But not quite so articulately. It's combined into reality by collective consciousness and creation, so it is a reflected image, not the true image. Just as our reflection in a mirror can tell us something about ourselves, so can the outer world and the experiences and people in it. What I see in you is a reflection of me. So, when you reflect on a situation from an outward perspective, you shift your accountability and power to something or someone else, which can leave you with a sense of feeling unfulfilled. But when you practice inward reflection, you empower and allow yourself to move through any uneasy or fear-based emotions, alchemizing them back into a loving space. And that's true, isn't it? You know, when all you're doing is outward reflection, when you're just pushing everything back out onto other people, like we all know people that for example, have split up in a relationship, and instead of taking some time to reflect on their own behaviour, their own part in things, they'll just project that outwards onto the other person and blame them, which is ultimately extremely unfulfilling, isn't it? Because you don't allow yourself the chance to work through any of your own emotions. You don't learn anything about yourself. All you're doing is judging and blaming. So you don't give yourself the opportunity to learn and move on and do better next time, do you? So it's a very, very important skill that not everybody does practice. I've known people in my life that have no real ability to self-reflect, and as I said, it means really, I mean, I'm sure I read somewhere once about that your maturity, your ability to maturate, to mature, it can only go as far as the last time that you sat and genuinely self-reflected, because it's within that introspection that we learn and we grow, isn't it? So if as a child you learn to kind of suppress and or project outwards any of your upset, then you essentially stay as that child, don't you, really? You don't grow, you don't learn anything. So anyway, without further ado, without me waffling on any further, let's put that under there. Like I said, we've just got 4 questions. Let's put this on the ground. Oh, don't set fire to it. As I've done that before. So yeah, we've got 4 questions. It will be interesting to see what we get, won't it? Because while these may seem like simple questions, it's actually a very deep and serious subject, isn't it? So for my viewer, please, what do they show the world? What face, what persona, what aspect of themselves do they show the world? Do they show the world the real them or a mask? So, what does my viewer show the world? I think Circe was the original sort of sorceress, wasn't she, in Greek mythology? I remember a story of her luring Ulysses. Is it Ulysses? Might be. I may have got that wrong. To an island where with some sort of herbal concoction she turned the men into beasts. Yeah. Ulysses or Odysseus? I can't remember. That's terrible, isn't it? So, for what my viewer shows the world, we have the King of Wands. We have the Knight of Swords. Wow. Well, that's a personality. Blimey. Okay. What does my viewer hide about themselves? What do they hide from the world? What do they hide consciously or unconsciously from the world? What do they not want people to see? Okay. The Ace of Wands. The Knight of Cups. How interesting. What must my viewer face about themselves? What is necessary for my viewer to face about themselves? What do they need to see? What must they face about themselves? Ooh, the Tower and the Ace of Swords. These are some very strong cards here. So what does my viewer need? What do they need to be integrated, whole and healthy? What do they need? We've got the Page of Wands and the Three of Cups. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Pentacles. Blimey. So, for the first question, what you show the world. And we have the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is, I mean, kings in general are fire and passion, and they represent authority and personal power. And I would say none more so than the King of Wands. You know, the King of Wands is a very fiery individual, somebody that is very charismatic, an extrovert, somebody that is probably quite good fun. Somebody likes to be in charge, somebody that likes to be right, somebody that likes to use their power for influence over other people, somebody quite independent, could be a little bit showy, but generally somebody that's probably quite good fun to be around, I would imagine. And with the Knight of Swords, I mean, the knights are the movers and seekers of the deck, aren't they? They're always trying to achieve something. They can be a catalyst for change. They can represent travel. But with the Knight of Swords, this is somebody that is incredibly articulate. Somebody quite, I don't know, brave maybe. Somebody quite swift in their action. Somebody with a lot to say, can potentially be quite argumentative. So this combination of the King of Wands and the Knight of Swords is a very powerful combination. I would imagine that people may feel quite intimidated by you at times. You're certainly a lot to handle if this is what you show to the world. If this is the face that you show the world. But is this only skin deep? Is this how you really feel underneath all of that? Or is that you? You know? So the next question is what you hide. And we've got the Ace of Wands. The aces are obviously the sort of essential characteristic of the suit, and the suit of Wands is one of energy and action and taking on challenges, moving forward, a creative spark. So I would say that actually that's quite well integrated actually, isn't it? Because the King of Wands and the Ace of Wands are a very similar kind of energy, really. Yeah. The Knight of yeah, I would say they're a very sort of similar energy. They're very passionate, very creative, quite successful kind of energy. very passionate. So I would imagine that how you present yourself to the world and actually what you're hiding from the world there's not a great deal of difference in those two things there, to be honest, is there? But when we get to the Knights, the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups are very different individuals. Like I said, Knights are movers and seekers, they're catalysts of change, they can be quite youthful people or characteristics of your personality, and the Knight of Cups is obviously more concerned with emotions. You know, cups are deeply felt emotions, they can be quite intuitive. The Knight of Cups can be somebody that's a bit of a dreamer, maybe even a little bit obsessive. You know, the message of the Knight of Cups can sometimes be just about following your heart. So I would say here that the difference between what you show and what you hide is that actually you're a lot more vulnerable and sensitive underneath than you would have other people see or know. That you could be quite romantic, you could be quite dreamy, you could live in your head, you could, you know, relationships, which I'm sure are not too difficult for you to find, given these cards. I think that from what you would show to how you actually feel underneath all of that is, I would imagine that anybody that you might be pursuing or interested in would have no clue really to start off with, at least, that you were actually quite vulnerable and quite sensitive underneath this huge charismatic and extroverted personality. You know, the Knight of Cups is somebody quite sensitive and somebody that really feels their emotions, you know, quite romantic, quite dreamy. So any kind of relationships for you in your life are going to be a really big deal. And much more of a concern. There's much more of the potential for your heart to get broken or hurt here than you would ever have anybody see or know, I think, really. So question number 3 is what I must face. And this is what you must face in order to, I guess, heal those aspects of yourself between the things that you show and the things that you hide, and why you hide things. You know, we all suppress and repress things within ourselves and hide aspects of ourselves, generally through some kind of shame or fear. You know, these will be things that we potentially learn as a child. You know, if you grow up as a child always being told that you're stupid or you're no good, well, that starts to become your mantra, doesn't it? It starts to become a belief. And unless you're able to somehow, you know, deal with that shadow side of your personality and integrate that properly, it will become something that you will want other people not to see, and you'll not want to see it in yourself either. So these things can become quite deep-seated. So in order to be able to heal and integrate aspects of these selves, we've got the Tower here and the Ace of Swords. Now the Tower is a card of fire and Mars. We've got a lot of fire here, actually. The King and the Ace of Wands is fire. The Tower is fire. The Page of Wands is fire. Yeah, we've got a lot of fire, haven't we? We've got all the suits on the table, actually, in one form or another, but we are heavy on the fire energy here. Come on, George. He's back in from upsetting the birds. So yeah, this is Mars, this is fire. Obviously Mars is a planet of kind of conflict, and it's about how you would approach challenges and conflicts in your life. It's your inner assertion, your drive, your goals. And then the Ace of Swords, again, is like that essential characteristic of the suit. It's the new beginning of a suit. And the Ace of Swords is about new ideas and new clarity, and having focus and clear thinking, being able to make breakthroughs. So this is making me wonder whether this is trying to say that what you need to face is that in order to integrate some of these things, or to feel more comfortable with your emotional side, with your vulnerabilities and your sensitivities, that it's important to look at how you deal with conflict, how you're able to focus and work things out, how you process new ideas, and how you process your thinking. It could be that with all of this fire energy here, that there's quite a lot of impulsivity in your personality and in your behaviour, and perhaps sometimes you don't. We've also got the Knight of Swords here, who's somebody that rushes in and doesn't always take time to think about things. So perhaps this is saying that what you need to face is that it would be good for you to focus a little bit on how you deal with conflict in your life and obstacles in your life, and how you work towards the goals in your life. How you think about things and plan things and work things out. It could be that a lot of the time you're just rushing in and not really allowing yourself to process the emotions of things, particularly because with tower moments, the things that can happen, some of the misfortunes, some of the things that can happen in life that kind of, break down the foundations of our life. So, some of those things could be avoided with some more clear thinking, with taking your time to work things out. By just having that ability to have that clear thinking, I guess, really. I would imagine that with the King of Wands and the Knight of Swords, there's a fair bit of anger around, because there's so much passion and drive here. I think there's a feeling with these two cards that that's quite an impatient kind of face for the world. And that perhaps if you were able to get some perspective, slow down, focus, get some clearer thinking, get some real insights into why something happened and what your part in it was, and actually process some of your emotions around a situation in a healthy way, perhaps that's what you need. Perhaps that's what you need to face about yourself, if you like. And what you need, as I did say, even though these are 4 small questions, they're big questions, really, in a lot of ways, aren't they? I could talk at length about a lot of these things. But anyway, what you need, we've got the Page of Wands here, and pages are, in this reading anyway, I'm going to take it as a more undeveloped aspect of personality. You know, pages, they can sort of deliver messages, they can be a childlike adult, someone young and growing. The Page of Wands in particular is dealing with, they're a very curious-minded and sort of passionate person who's always looking for new opportunities, who's quite energetic. But as I said, it's a page, so it's a much more undeveloped aspect of your personality. So I would say what you need is to actually grow into that personality, because this is what you show the world. It's not necessarily who you really are, but this is what you show the world. And maybe the growth needs to happen in these wands. It needs to happen between the Page and the King of Wands, if you know what I mean. We've also got the Three of Cups here, and threes are numbers of kind of like three separate forces that come together and work as one. Threes are about creativity and growth and expansion and groups. The Three of Cups is concerned with teamwork and harmony and celebration, you know, good times. So I would say that how you're going to learn to integrate certain aspects of your personality is through being around other people, by watching, by learning, by reflecting, by having some awareness of your place in the group, of how other people perceive you. I would say that the King of Wands and the Knight of Swords are people that would never ask somebody how they feel about them, because they would just be too sure in their own sense of self. Whereas, because we've got this Knight of Cups here, we know that underneath that there's not quite as much certainty in your sense of self as you would have other people believe. So I would say that you're going to find that sense of self by sharing aspects of yourself with other people and getting feedback, you know. The Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, I often see the bottom of the deck as being like the overriding energy of the reading, or something that is important but maybe not conscious currently, something that you might not be aware of. Fours are cards of structure and stability and foundations. The Four of Pentacles is the Sun in Capricorn, so it's a very it's a strong energy, isn't it? It's a very determined sort of energy. You know, the Sun can often represent your ego, and Capricorn is a very determined kind of character. So the Four of Pentacles is it can be about being too materialistic or too rigid, hanging on to rigidity and structure too much, being afraid to let go. Like he sat here clutching his pentacles, he's hanging on to everything that he's got. And that's making me feel here really that a lot of your persona, a lot of how you act or behave is caught up in a fear of losing control, or of losing your status, losing your place in life. Perhaps a lot of this persona is wrapped up in your job, your career, And perhaps there's a lot of fear around people seeing you as not so successful or not, or more vulnerable. So I would say that as well as sharing with other people, as well as appreciating that you might need to be a bit more curious minded with the Page of Wands about yourself and the face that you give the world compared to how you actually really do feel, that it would be important to sort of let your guard down a little bit, to let go a little bit, to relax some of the structure in your life, or to not be quite so fearful of loss in any area of your life. Yeah. And for certainly to look for feedback, you know, to use this mirror. As I said, what was the words that I read out of this book? I can't remember at the moment. Let me just look. What I see in you is a reflection of me. So I think that it's very important to really start to take notice of those things consciously, you know, in your dealings with other people, to really start to think about how you perceive other people and whether in fact actually that is a shadow aspect of yourself, something that you might be hiding about yourself, or something you don't like about yourself, or something you're just aware that if people were to see that they would look at you differently. They might see you as not so certain, not so in charge, not so full of that authority and personal power that you obviously are very happy for people to see. So I realise I've been talking for a long time, and like I said, this is a very even though these are 4 small questions, this is a huge subject really, isn't it, here? And there's a lot of information in these cards. So I just hope really that without upsetting anybody, because I realise some of the things I've said here are quite strong. I certainly don't mean to offend or hurt anyone's feelings. This is just an exploration. This is just an exploration of these cards, isn't it? It's telling the story of these cards. And if this happens to be your story, or you see yourself in this story, then I hope that you'll listen to what I said quite carefully, and like I said, start to use this mirror in a much more conscious way to really work out who you are, how you want to be seen, how you want to feel, and what your place is in life. You know, we're all, I believe, on a path, on a journey to maturation, to becoming healthier and happier people. And that's all that this is really. This is an attempt to help you kind of integrate aspects of your personality to be a more whole person. And that's something that we all need to face, we all need to do, we all need to grow. So, like I said, there are people in life that can go through their whole life not reflecting on anything about themselves. And I just think that's such a shame, isn't it? So I would love some feedback about this reading, because this is quite heavy really, isn't it? I would love some feedback. Please do say hello. Thank you so much to everyone who watches and subscribes. I'm sending you all my love, and I will see you all again soon.